Hello, everybody, and welcome to exercise 9-20. So the first thing we're asked to do here is to compute the ending inventory at retail. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my cost, retail. I've got my beginning inventory. My purchases, net. And so my ending inventory retail, I'm going to add in markups. This is going to be 10,345. Less my markdown. So my sales price of my goods available for sale at retail is going to be 284, 210. So my sale price of goods available. So then I'm going to subtract out my less my sales revenue. And this is 186. And so then my ending inventory at retail is going to be 98,210. Okay. So the next thing it's asking us to do, or the question is asking us to do, is compute a cost to retail percentage, round to 2 decimals under the following conditions, excluding markups and markdowns. Okay, so what does that look like? So if I exclude markups, if I exclude markdowns, my cost to retail is going to be 180 divided by 300, or a total of 60%. Okay, so this is excluding markups and markdowns. We'll call this B1. The next one is saying excluding markups but including markdowns. So if I'm excluding markups but I'm including markdowns, then what this is going to be is my cost to retail will be 180 divided by 273,865. Or about 65%. Okay, so for my next trick, or the next magic trick right over here, is, let's see here, what is it asking us for next? B3 is excluding markdowns but including markups. So excluding markdowns but including markups. So my cost to retail is going to be 180,000 divided by 310, 345. Or roughly about 57%. And my last one is including both markdowns and markups. So comes back over here to this. We can even use this here as B4. So this is cost to retail. And this is going to be 180,000 divided by 284, 210. Or a total of 63%. Okay. So which of the methods in B above 1, 2, 3, or 4 does the following? provides the most conservative estimate of ending inventory. Okay, so which is going to give us the most conservative estimate of ending inventory? And this one here is showing method 3. And when I look at this here, if I look at method 3, so if I'm including markups, but I'm excluding markdowns, I don't know exactly. I'm not going to ask you that type of question. And the one that we're using in the conventional retail method, it shows here is we're exclude markdowns, but we include markups. So I'm assuming that that is to get this percentage as low as possible in terms of the cost to retail, which is what happens here. So we include markups and we exclude markdowns. Okay. The next one here is to compute ending inventory at the lower of cost or market. Going through and doing that. So our ending inventory at the lower of cost or market would be going through and taking 98,210 and multiplying that by this percentage right over here. So my ending inventory at retail, and then I multiply this by my cost to retail. Of 58%. So my inventory at LCM is going to be 56,962. Okay. So compute cost of goods sold based on D. So my cost of goods sold would be, well, my goods available for sale is going to be my cost of, basically my goods available for sale is 180. And then over here, this is going to be less ending inventory, or the inventory over here at lower of cost or market. So my cost of goods sold is going to be 123,038. My gross margin based on this would be sales. So I had sales of 186. Less my cost of goods sold. Gives me gross profit here of 62,962. So as I'm looking at this question here, like how do we go through and look at this moving forward? So computing the ending inventory at retail, we're going to include both. So we're going to include both markups and markdowns. And that's going to give us this amount here. But when it comes though to, and this is going to be the number that we're going to be using for pretty much everything that we're going to be doing. However, though, when it comes though to the actual percentage of going through and doing this here, which is basically saying that, okay, to actually come up with the cost to retail percentage, what we do is we include the markups, but we exclude the markdowns, and then using this percentage against this over here, then that's how we're going through preparing this under the conventional retail method. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.